Freeman. I'm one of the PTO co-presidents along with Katie Ryan, who'll stand, and Brenda, who's womaning the camera. So we're your PTO co-presidents. We encourage you to please join the BHS Class of 2021 Facebook page if you're on Facebook. And our role is really just to liaise with you on communications, make sure that any questions that you have about your students, we either answer or try to answer and get you the answers too. And then we fed the freshmen last week, didn't we? Right. So, Anthony is going to say
awesome, great.
I'm feeling so positive about the start of the year that I just said, awesome, great. But I mean it. Thank you for being here. I just sometimes can't filter my positivity. Welcome to the parents of sophomores. I want to be clear, this is really Brenda, Katie, Emily, Lisa, Rachel, and Summers meeting. I'm here to welcome you, and then I'm going to run to a family commitment. One thing I told our sophomores in our assembly last Friday was how much I love hiring and what an important part of my job that is. Certainly the supporting of hiring our teachers, that's the most crucial work we do, is supporting teachers and getting the best teachers we can. I directly am involved in hiring administrators, and losing Scott Butchart after 34 years at Brookline High School and 42 years in public education was hard, and I want to tell you how excited I am about Lisa. She has 20 years of experience in the Boston schools and has been amazing all summer, disagreeing with me in ways that I think are really good, and I'm being genuine that that's what I want, is a voice that says, why do we do this way? And Lisa has just been terrific. Rachel has taught Japanese at Brookline High School for 20 years? Almost 20 years. And what you may not know is our Japanese program before Rachel came on board was really struggling. We did not have many students enrolled, and it was really Rachel's excellent instruction that paved the way for us to build a Japanese program as successful as we've had. And so it's with a little bit of regret that she shifts out of the classroom, but she is a wonderful teacher and served as an administrator part-time last year, and so we're super excited to have her. And if you don't know Summer Williams, you need to. We came into Brookline High School together 15 years ago. This is our 15th year, so 14 years ago, and she has just been a rock-solid teacher of performing arts, and talks really candidly with kids, but in a way that keeps things moving forward, which I think is important. Our kids deserve that level of honesty, while also, even in the toughest conversations, young people need to understand we're going to continue to move forward in our relationship, in our work, in our growth and learning. So I just want to take a moment and say thank you all for taking these jobs. So I'd also just like to talk briefly about being informed and involved. And you're parents of sophomores, parents, guardians, caregivers of sophomores, so you know. But I would like just to see how many of you are signed up for the PTO Weekly Blast. So a good number, and the PTO does amazing work in sharing important information about events, ideas, issues at Brookline High School. They also do important things like sponsor and facilitate the 9th grade barbecue. And then on Saturday the 29th, and I know this is one of the slides, so I'm just going to tease it, we have our college essay workshop, and I see Abby Cox, who might wave, and her email is something like abbycox@yahoo.com. I've seen the slide before. The College Essay Workshop is a way that we surround and support all of our seniors. And honestly, more than half show up on that Saturday in order to get help no matter where they are in the college essay process. And it's a really cool opportunity to be involved and see that. And this is the year, and next year they will not want to see you at the college essay workshop when they are seniors, just to be honest. In the same way that my 9th grade daughter pretends not to see me in the halls this year, which is a nice experience. Kind of, just interesting. Okay, then we also have the Brookline Education Fund, and I see our president, Emily Dole, there, and we're going to meet very soon to talk about how we can best support professional learning at Brookline High School and in the public schools of Brookline. And that happens through individual grants, it happens through collaborative grants, and I'm really excited to talk with Emily about the future of what does our staff most need to work on at this time at Brookline High School. So that's an opportunity. And then we have our Innovation Fund, formerly the 21st Century Fund. I hope you read that we have an incredible event planned for next Thursday, September 20th. We have the author Ted Dintersmith, author of What School Could Be and Most Likely to Succeed. And Ted is going to come and have a conversation with Magna Chakrabarty of NPR and the host of On Point. And I think will really push us to think as a school community about the ways this school supports all students and the way that we as a community support all students. So please consider coming on the 20th. Ted will be with us all day, thanks to the Innovation Fund, meeting with students, meeting with teachers, meeting with administrators, which really he spent a year touring the United States, really talking to kids and talking to teachers about innovation that works. And that's good for us to have his perspective and to have him push us. So there are many other ways to be involved at Brookline High School. I would just love to see a show of hands. How many of you feel like you have a way that you can come here beyond just back to school night or PTO meetings, that you found a way to be somehow involved with the high school? Okay, so that's on us to work on that and to offer a broader range of opportunities and encourage you to be a part. I know that young people want separate domains. As I always say, or like to say, it's our job to conspire in order to break down some of those separate domains and open communication, because that's what our young people deserve. So it is now my pleasure, I think, as I look at you very seriously, unless, Emily?
No, I'm going to introduce them.
You know what, why don't you introduce them? Awesome. So this is what I usually do, is disappoint people by stealing their lines. It's too bad Lisa Redding's not here, because she makes a great face when I do that, and I get strange pleasure out of it. But all right, Lisa Gilbert-Smith, Dean of Students.
Thank you and good evening. He did steal my thunder. He said everything I wanted to say. Thanks. Once again, I am Lisa Gilbert-Smith, and I'm really honored to have been selected to serve as Dean of Students at Brookline High School. I was in the Boston school system for 20 years, thought I would retire there, had already plotted and planned with the retirement folks on how soon I could lay on the beach and have a side job like most of us were doing, and found myself coming to work not smiling anymore. And I'm a smiler. I like to come in to work every day with a smile on my face, and I was so bitterly disappointed about some of the things that was happening in my own school as a school leader, as well as some of the things that was happening in the system, that I knew it was time for me to leave, because I always said to myself, when I stop smiling, I'm going to be of no use to anyone, and so I'm going to need to move on. And when I started looking around at different places to move on to, I was so incredibly attracted to Brookline High School and to all the fantastic ways in which we support and serve students. I was particularly attracted to the mission of serving all students, and when I met with Anthony Meyer and with some of the team here and heard about many of the ways in which they were planning to do an even better job at that, I really got super excited. And so when I came in for my 4th interview, saying to myself, boy, I hope they like me by now, and I hope they're gonna offer me a job, because I feel so intimately connected to this community. I started in July, and I've had a smile back on my face every single day. And for all of you, I throw out the challenge: if you ever see me and I don't have a smile on my face, tell me to go on about my business. Because our students deserve to have people who are warm and welcoming to them. I am not here as Dean of Discipline. that may be a part of my role if students are not adhering to the responsibility that comes along with all the freedom that they get at Brookline High School. But I really look at my role as an opportunity to guide, to support, to encourage, and to care for. When I was in high school, I was not cared for. I did very well. I was a straight-A student, and no one really knew my name. And so I graduated from high school without firm connections to any of the folks that were there. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to return and work in high school so that I could perhaps make a difference for some other children. Sometimes we think that when our students are straight-A students, they don't have needs, and they do. As a parent myself, I have a 3- and a 4-year-old, so they don't have a report card yet. But I certainly hope that they'll get positive grades and that they'll have wonderful experiences in school. But I also, I hope that people will know them, will care about them, will support them, will give them a hand up when they need it. And that's what I look at our role as being. All of us here at Brookline High School are here to support your children. Please call on us when and if there is a need. And please encourage your children to come and say, hey, like, hello, even if they don't feel like they do have a need, because at a certain point we all have a need to talk to someone, and if you already know that person, it's going to be a lot easier. So I'm looking forward to having an absolutely terrific year with all of our sophomores. I have an amazing team. Anthony already introduced them and stole that from me too, but I am so in awe of the blue team. We call it the blue team here. But you will meet Summer Williams, you'll meet Rachel Isle, but we also have a set of fantastic guidance counselors all upstairs in the Dean's Suite, ready, willing, and able to support and offer guidance to your students and to you and to partner with you. And so thank you so much for coming out tonight. Thank you for being a part of the PTO. Thank you for that fantastic barbecue for our freshmen, where you served over 500 people, 500 students, and then a couple of hundred hungry staff members. That was amazing, and the first time I've ever experienced anything like that. And so just a huge shout out to all the folks who were involved in that, because that was a wonderful way to welcome our freshmen and a wonderful way to welcome back all of our staff for the hard work that everyone's involved with every single day here at Brookline High School. So I'm gonna share with you what we're going to kind of talk about this evening, if I can find the clicker. Oh, cool, you clicked for me, thank you. So just to go over a quick overview, when folks come up, they'll introduce themselves, and we're gonna share some information about the add, drop period, our extra help centers, which you may know about already. We're gonna talk a little bit about who do I ask when. We're gonna share some upcoming events, and then we're gonna save some time for questions. So I don't know if you've ever heard this mantra at BHS. I think that Lisa Redding, who's the dean for the red team, is really pushing us all to kind of make sure we are talking with our students about our mantra. So we have these signs posted in our school now that says, BHS, it's hard, and you can do it, and we will help you. We also have this second one around freedom and responsibility, and I've talked with our students, all of our students, about the fact that this campus is huge. They have open campus. They're free to walk from this building to, say, the arts building. They're free to actually keep on going, walk to the bus stop, walk home. That's not being responsible. That's not what they're supposed to do. And so they also have to take care of their business and be accountable for being where they're supposed to be, so that they can continue to have all the fantastic freedom that comes along with being a student at Brookline High School. We also are talking with our students about the fact that they're not done yet, that education and learning is lifelong. And so if they're happy about being seniors this year, which we have seniors too, that's fantastic, but we want them to know that the journey continues. This last one is the one that's near and dear to my heart. We create the culture that we want. That's not my job. That's something that I've been in charge of leading, spearheading, along with our team, but it's also the responsibility of our students and our families to create the culture that we want. One of the lines that really was very attractive to me on the website of Brookline High School was preparing our students to be leaders in what is really now a very small world. And in order for us to lead in a small world, we have to respect, accept, and embrace lots of different people in order to get the very best from everyone on the teams that we'll be leading. At Brookline High School, we are producing the future leaders. And if they are going to lead our town and lead our state and lead our country and lead in this world, then we need to be responsible for making sure that we're teaching them how to embrace, accept, and bring out the gifts that we all bring to the table. And that's very attractive to me about being at Brookline High School. And I've seen already how much students support each other, how much teachers are invested in making this a community where everyone feels safe and welcoming. And we've got work to do, absolutely, but we'll continue doing that work because it's worth it. And it's the right work. And now I'll introduce Rachel Io.
Hi, folks. As Anthony mentioned, I am Rachel Io. I'm one of the associate deans on both the blue team this year and the red team. So I was an associate dean last year for 10th graders on the red team, and I'm one of the associate deans for the 11th graders as well on red. And I'm also one of the associate deans on blue for your 10th graders. So it's really great to get to work with you and to meet all of you this year. Certainly the PTO here is very near and dear to my heart. I'm one of the co-chairs of the Brookline Cherry Blossom Festival. And so they are one of our main sponsors, and I am deeply appreciative of all of their support over the years. I've been teaching Japanese and social studies here for almost 20 years, as Anthony mentioned. I started the Japanese program here almost 20 years ago, and I used to teach the Asian American Studies and Gender and Society class. So my work with students, particularly in the social studies classes, talking about race and gender, really helped me last year when I was new to this position, because so much of the work that we do with students is complicated around their own identities, around the ways that they interact with people in the building, and figuring out how to grow and learn, you know, from all the things that they experience in the hallways and their classrooms. I'm really excited to get to work with 10th graders again this year. I know the 10th grade team of teachers in the building really well. I'm really here to support you and your kids. Figure out how to navigate 10th grade. A lot of the phone calls that I got last year from parents had to do with, I don't know, my son just doesn't seem to want to get involved in anything. I can't figure out how to get him to join a club or how to get him to engage in things. And you know, sometimes we would work through and problem solve how to sort of think about new things that they hadn't tried before, taking a leap of faith, taking a risk in something new, working with students and families, and also reassuring families that it's just part of the growing up process, and that maybe, you know, there's a little bit of gap of time where you're seeing a little bit of apathy in your students' sort of interest in something, but that something else may pop up just another month later and may re-engage them in something new. And Brookline High School has everything and anything that you could ever ask for a high school student. It's more like a college than it is like a high school. That's why I love being here. This is really a place that I've grown up, and I hope that you grow and, you know, learn to love Brookline High the way that I do as well. I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the logistics of the classes that your children are enrolled in, your students are enrolled in. So as you know, there's a 2-week freeze on moving classes that started sort of day one of school last Friday. And that's really for students who are thinking about moving levels or change their mind about a class. If your student is missing a particular class in their schedule, like they weren't scheduled for something that was a core subject that's needed for graduation or part of a pathway that they're involved in, then that's something that a counselor could change right away. However, until September 21st, we have sort of a freeze in place in classes, and that's really to give students a chance to get a taste of the class. Sometimes students think that they're not ready for that level, or that it may be too challenging for them, or that they want to move up and that they're ready for a bigger challenge. And in order to give them a real sense of what the course is like, we ask them to stay in place for 2 weeks. And then after, starting on the 20th, they can pick up add drop forms from their guidance counselor or from their dean. And there's a process to get it all filled out. So usually the student needs to sign it, the teacher of the class that they're dropping will need to sign it, the guidance counselor, you as a parent, and then the curriculum coordinator, okay, for each department, there's a head of department, and then the dean is the last signature, and then the counselor can make that change in a student's schedule. The other thing that's important to note is that students can drop semester-long classes 1 week after the Q1 progress reports, and that's on October 18th. And for a full year course, the drop deadline is December 1st. Any class that's dropped after December 1st receives a W, which is a withdrawal, and a grade. So it just depends on what the student's grade was after December 1st. And we'll take questions on that stuff towards the end. Let me just click. I'm doing too many clicking things at one time. Here we go. All right, so the extra help centers. This is something that we're gonna ask the PTO to share this on their website so that you can see the presentation as well online. But these posters are starting to go up around the building so that students are aware of where to go when they need some extra support in their classes. So of course we ask that students interact with their teachers and ask them for individual help, but sometimes another person can help explain something in a way that may connect better with your student than their classroom teacher. So the math center is open every morning in the cafeteria, okay, every Z block. And so is the science center. The science center is in room 368. The social studies help center is in room 388, Mondays and Thursdays from 3 to 4 p.m. The writing center, which is really for editing and for coming up with ideas for your history papers, English papers, those types of things, has a really wide range of hours, okay? So there's a ton of people in there helping both students and faculty to help develop students' writing. And then the World Language Support Center has a variety of different locations and hours depending on what language your student is studying. And you can go in there to take extra, to make up a test or a quiz, or to get extra help in that particular language. And of course, the library is open very extensively as well. So students are starting to become aware of this information as we make it more public, but don't feel like their classroom teacher is the only resource available to them for extra help. All right, let's see what else do we have.
Hi everyone, how are you? Good, welcome. My name is Summer. I am excited to be joining this really great team as Associate Dean for the sophomores. As Anthony said, this is my 15th year. I spent 14 years teaching drama and directing shows, which is very much like Dean's work. That wasn't supposed to be that funny. So it actually is in a lot of ways, right? So essentially what we're doing is building a community. You're figuring out who needs a little extra help, who needs a little extra time, who needs a little extra care and attention, and you're figuring out the best ways to attend to those people while making sure everything is moving along as it should, right? So that's the role that I am meant to fill here, and I'm excited to work with your kids. And I'm really excited to be a nice landing space. One of the things that I'm really proud of my work here at the high school, particularly extracurricularly in the shows that I would choose to direct, I wanted to do things that were really helping to push the BHS culture along. And so when lots of conversations were coming up that were pretty difficult, I made it my mission to use the theater as an opportunity to talk about some of those difficult things and to encourage cross-conversation between students and teachers and administrators, townwide and within the building. And I feel like I have an opportunity to do even more of that work. So I'm excited to get to know each one of your students. So who do I ask? So take a picture because you're going to need to know Sabrina McIntosh. If you don't know her already, that is the person who helps make magic happen. And if you are needing to excuse your kid, if you need an early dismissal, if your kid was late and you want to make sure that gets addressed. Sabrina McIntosh is the person to email or the person to call. If you have questions about your students' classes, their transcripts, any student support, you want to reach out to their guidance counselor. If you don't know who that is, Sabrina can help you figure that out, or I can help you figure that out. And if you have questions about any clubs, athletics, things that are happening here at the school, you want to use the website. It's a fantastic resource, and it's a big, big place with so many offerings. So if you feel like, oh, my student is interested in X, Y, Z, 12, and 24, and you want help figuring out, well, is it possible to do a fraction of those things? We can help you sort through that by, one, talking to coaches, talking to drama teachers and directors, talking to academic supports, and figuring out a good plan for your student. There we go. Great. Excellent. So, a couple of school rules. Hopefully none of this is new to you unless you are new to the school. So, our attendance policy. There is a total absence limit. That is 21 for full year courses. 21 absences, excused absences, for full year courses, and 11 for semester long courses. I love seeing all these phones go up. I feel like the paparazzi, it's great. So that's really, really important. Make sure we're really, of course, in order for school to work, you have to be in school. And so please help to do your part by making sure your student is getting here and getting here on time. We are also exploring some opportunities to have some common practice around tardiness. And so one of the things that we're looking to do is to create some expectations that say, like, really, no, get here and get here on time. And that there is going to be something that gets a little triggered in the system if you're not here on time multiple times in a row, in which we're going to do some investigation and figure out, like, well, what's going on and how can we help and what do you need to make sure that you get here on time, because every moment of a class is important. Our cell phone policy. There's no talking on the phone anywhere in the building. Here's my favorite thing ever. I see a kid walking down the hall and they're trying to discreetly be on the phone, and I say, no, you're not allowed to be on the phone. No, it's my mom, it's my mom. And I said, well, mom should know. You can't be on the phone in school. So do your kid a favor. They can text away all they want in their hallway passing time. That is totally legit. We want to refrain from use of phones in classrooms unless they're doing something that is to serve the academic goal of that class. And you need explicit permission from the teacher, and classroom teachers have autonomy in their little universes. So make sure your student is really clear about what their teacher's rules are. Headphones and earbuds, here's something a little new. So earbuds can now, not earbuds because that doesn't work, headphones can be worn around the neck. There was a lot of complaint from students, well, I have these big, giant Beats headphones and I don't want to crush them in my bag and they're really expensive, and totally get it. You can have them around your neck. It can never be on. Music can never be coming from those earphones. What's tricky is those little iPhone earbuds now that are wireless and just hang in the ears. That's crazy. They need to be in their little shell holder, so hopefully they don't get lost or in a pocket somewhere, but they cannot just kind of dangle like earrings out of the ears. That is against our policy. And that's really about people being present when they're together in the hallways and classrooms, etc. We want students to be here. Lastly, cheating and plagiarism. We see the definition of that up there. Please have a conversation with your student to help them to clarify and really understand what cheating is, what plagiarism looks like, and what they can do to steer clear of that. If they have a really hard time, going to any of the homework centers or the help centers will also help them to figure out some strategies that will keep them out of that danger zone. Cool beans? Okay, great. Boom. Ready to rock?
This is the slide that's hard to see.
All right, I apologize for the small text on here. We are going to share this again with you electronically. This is a slide that just explains a little bit about the different electronic resources that you have access to, or your student has access to, for different purposes here at the high school. The first is Naviance, and it's used for career and college exploration. It'll become particularly important for your student in their senior year. They have passwords that have been provided by their guidance counselor, and parents can log in as a guest with the password of BHS, but we don't provide separate passwords for parents. And your children will need this for second half of junior year and really senior year as they're thinking about applying to college. X2, the parent portal or the Aspen portal, is really something that you should have access to. It is important. This is how you can check, and your student can check their schedule. You can check in around attendance. Report cards and progress reports come out on the parent portal. And so make sure that if you don't have access to the portal at this point, you can email datateam@psbma.org and include your child's name and your name, and they can help you log in. We know we've had a lot of students who've had login issues in the beginning of the year. Students needed to have reset their password last year. A lot of students didn't do that, and so now they're in the process of doing that. We've had IT folks in the library all week helping students log in, and it seems to have cleared the backlog of students that were having problems logging in. And so this is an important resource for you. Canvas, I'm sure by now, if you have a 10th grader that you are aware of, is the learning platform that many teachers use, most teachers use, to share assignments. There are assignments that are submitted through Canvas. Many teachers use it to post grades as well. This is something that your student has access to and has a password for. Please ask your student to show you their Canvas pages and their login info. If possible, they can share their login information with you. If not, have them log into Canvas and sit with them and look through their grades as well as the work that they're doing. There's a lot of interesting assignments and resources that are loaded into Canvas, and teachers work pretty hard to keep that up to date. And then of course the BHS guidance website has a lot of information about department events and services that the guidance department provides for students, and that can be found through the Brookline High School website. There's no login information that you need for that. It's open to the public, and we encourage you to use that as well.
All right, we have some big events and some dates that we want you to kind of pay some attention to. You heard Anthony talk about the event that's happening. Sounds super cool. Next Thursday here at 7 p.m. NPR, that's pretty cool. Our activities fair is on September 27th. It's during X Block. If you are interested in having your student find some new clubs, some new activity to participate in, this is the best way to kind of figure out everything that is offered here. There is a full range of activities and clubs offered. And if your kid doesn't find something that like really interests them, they can start their own club or activity. And that's something that students do all the time. On October 3rd, an important conversation. The truth about vaping. I don't know if any of you saw the article in the Times yesterday, was it yesterday? Which is really interesting, and I'm hoping that they find that yes, of course they are marketing to young people, and yes, of course it needs to be pulled from the shelves immediately. So that's going to be at 7 p.m. Do we know if it's in here or in the MLK? In here? Fantastic. On October 11th, our individual progress reports are going to be released on the portal. So that's where you're going to have your first touch point as to how your student is doing so far this year. Big fun night, back to school night, October 11th, starts here at 6:30, and then we do the rounds and it's like a party. And then the quarter ends on November 7th. You'll get those report cards on the 15th. We have no school this upcoming Wednesday, and no school on November 9th. That's a teacher professional development day. The Gala Rama Innovation Fund's Gala-rama is happening on November 15th at 7 p.m. And then our next PTO meeting is January 9th. So don't forget, this is all going to be kind of sent out to you, but those are some important dates and events that you don't want to miss.
Is there any chance that Cindy is here? Okay. So one of the PTO, or one of the people from After the Prom Party said they might come and talk about this, but I'm happy to cover it. If you don't know about the After the Prom Party, it is an unbelievable event that takes place in the Tappan Street Gym. And it is a team of really dedicated parents who help to create a space for seniors to be safe after the prom all night long. The students come at 11:30 after prom has concluded, and they are, the gym is turned into an amazing, amazing space. I never knew that a gym could look like that. Carnival games, DJs, hypnotists, movies, masseuses, incredible food, just an unbelievable event for kids, and it goes on all night long. And so a lot, as Anthony mentioned, the seniors don't want to see you at the senior college writing workshop. They also don't want you to be the people working on their after the prom party. So we desperately ask that sophomore and junior parents help pay it forward a little bit and help out with the after the prom party. The planning has already begun, and we'll really sort of be gearing up as we get into the spring. The event is June 3rd. It starts around 10:30, but the setup takes all weekend long, and it runs all night long, and then of course there's a breakdown process. So if you're interested in getting involved, the bhsatpp@gmail.com is the person, or is the organization to try and email, and there's a website also on the bottom, bhsaftertheprom.weebly.com. You can check out their website, but again, if you're interested in getting involved as a sophomore parent, this is a great way to learn a little bit about what your student may be involved with in 2 years as a senior.
Can I just give a shout out?
Yeah.
My name's Mary, and I've been doing it since my son was in 7th or 8th grade, because when I moved to Brookline, I was like, what is this after the prom party? And I can guarantee you will not regret it. There are shifts from like 10 to 2, and then 2 to 4 in the morning, something. Like, you're up all night. It's incredible. It's absolutely amazing what this committee pulls off, and we're going to wish that you went to the prom of the BHS. After the prom. It's unbelievable. And you won't see your own child at it. You have to do it when your child is not a senior. They don't want senior parents for obvious reasons. It's really fun.
It is. It's an amazing, amazing gift to the seniors, and it helps really keep them safe. All right.
I'm hoping that Abby Cox is here, still here.
And
Yes.
if she would like to talk about it, would you? What?
Oh, can I just stay right here?
You certainly can.
Okay. I think it's been mentioned a couple of times, but on Saturday, September 29th, we will have 200 or more seniors who are in the thick of the college admissions process, and several of them will arrive with a draft of an essay. Some of them will arrive with nothing at all, and we are here for all of them. We have very talented BHS faculty and staff who lead workshops to help the seniors no matter what stage of their essay process they're in. But we really need more adults in every room to be additional readers. And some people say, well, but my background's not in writing or publishing. That's okay. What we're really looking for is a chance to read those essays, people who can read those essays and give a kid some honest feedback about what they get from the essay. The teachers will lead the parts that you might not feel as comfortable with, but you are offering great assistance by being another set of eyes on that essay and another person for that kid to talk to. So if you are available, the essay workshop runs from 8 to noon, so it's the morning, and if you have all afternoon to be free. We also need folks who can help us with logistics at the beginning, so if you only have early morning to help, we'd love your assistance there too. There's a web address, or if it's easier just to remember my name, contact us and we'll connect you.
Fantastic, thanks, Abby. As someone who was in college missions at one time in Michigan, those college essays are so, so important. So we can't say enough how important it is for us to help support our students in having a really fantastic essay. So we want to make sure that we give thanks to fantastic organizations that have been so helpful and continue to be helpful to Brookline High School. So we want to give a warm thank you to Brookline Education Foundation, of course to our PTO, to the Brookline High School Innovation Fund, and to the Brookline Community Foundation for all of their support. Did I skip a slide? And now comes the point at which you can actually speak. I really hope that for future PTO meetings, that if there are things that you want us to be here to address, we're happy to do that, but that you connect with your PTO reps to make sure that what we're covering are things that you actually want to talk about, and that would help make your lives better as you seek to provide the most incredible opportunities for your own children, and as we seek to partner with you in that endeavor. So please be in contact with your PTO reps if there are things that you really want us to address. But for now, we'll take questions, if there are any.
Can you tell us who facilitates the health workshop, whatever it's called, centers?
Sure, I'm gonna let Rachel answer that because I actually haven't been here yet for those, but she's been here forever.
So there's different faculty who are assigned as part of their work to work in the help centers. So for example, there's a teacher who teaches Spanish and French, who runs the World Language Support Center. She can also help with Latin. There are English and history teachers who work in the Writing Center, as well as students who also volunteer in the Writing Center. The Math and Science Centers are purely staffed by math and science teachers in the mornings. And the Social Studies Center, I believe, is run by Dr. Gary Schiffman, who's the head of the Social Studies Department. So there's, people who teach a wide range of different subject areas who are available, and in the Writing Center's case, also students to get, an eye on student writing as well.
Two questions. One is, can you talk a little bit about tutorial and who you recommend that for and what grade levels are allowed to do that? And then my second question, if I can do that one now that I said that one. The second question is, I'm trying now that we're sophomores to make sure we're getting electives from each of those three categories. Is one of the three categories community service?
What was the last one?
Community service. Community service? Okay.
Yes.
So I was trying to look in the handbook about that, whether there's classes, or they do that outside. I just wanted to hear about that.
Sure. So first question, tutorial. Tutorial is recommended for students who need some additional support in organization, in homework management, completion. It's not for students who are on an IEP. They should be provided with different services. And essentially, the hope is that a first-year student, second-year student, third-year student could receive tutorial support, and in their senior year, they should be gone. Because the hope is that tutorial will help to kind of build those skills within them. And I would consider tutorial for students who need some study skills, need to create better habits around homework practice, need some help kind of organizing all of the things that are happening during the course of the school day and manage all of their commitments, and someone who perhaps needs an on-the-ground adult in the building to be a little bit responsible too as they figure out how to manage their own commitments here. The goal, hopefully, is not for a long-lasting relationship with tutorial, but you get just enough of the supports and growth that you need so that then you can do it on your own. In regards to community service, and yes, you can get some elective credit, I will say, As an elective teacher, I want to encourage you to get all of your students in actual elective classes here because they're fantastic, and that's the only way that students get to really experience some very different risk-taking. However, there is an opportunity to earn some of that credit through community service, but that is done outside of the school. It is not a course. It is not an extracurricular school-led endeavor. If that makes sense.
Yeah, so can you just remind me what the 3 categories are that they need electives? Now they need 1 credit, right?
That's right. In performing arts, visual arts, career, and tech ed.
Oh, that's why I was confused. Visual and performing are separate.
Correct.
That was my
Correct.
thank
Yes. And performing arts ranges from dance, music, drama, visual arts. We have photography, sculpture, painting, career and tech ed, computer, business, stuff like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question about the Aspen the portal to the passwords for the Aspen portal. Does each family share one password, or does the child have a password and the parents have a separate password? I can never get into Aspen.
I believe there are separate passwords. The student has one, and then the family should have another. And there's information that's being circulated around portal access, and we can make sure that we maybe reshare it so that goes out with this stuff. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
If you're divorced, even there's separate logins and passwords.
So, I'm sorry, 2 people. Say again?
So there's separate, if you're divorced, for instance, for parents.
Yes, you can also have separate, yes, if that is the case. And what were you saying, sir?
Just that every person can log.
Oh, absolutely.
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing.
Yeah, could you repeat those?
That every person can have a login, essentially, right? So it's not just kind of one per family. If you need multiple, then you can have that. Yes. I saw a hand way in the back, yes?
This is another community service question, maybe for guidance, but like last year when, if your kid did a club that was like a service type of club, and the kids were saying, oh, you can fill out a form and get something for it, and that was all really vague to my student last year, and I don't need her to like get credit for it, but if she's supposed to have, fill in her hours and have someone sign it, that was really unclear to our family last year.
So the question is about community service and community service hours and what's the process around that and maybe the process of getting some credit for that. Our recommendation is to talk directly to the guidance counselor so that they can kind of go through the details of what your student committed to or participated in and to see how many hours apply, but there is an opportunity to kind of accrue a certain number of hours. Yes?
Hi, I can find out your child's needs, because a bunch of emails came out that's not here. And also, I just wanted to let the group know, I don't know if there's any other CPAC parents here, but if anyone is interested in the Special Ed Parents Committee, we meet once a month at Town Hall. It's usually a Friday morning. It is open to all parents, not just parents of children with IEPs and 504s. Inclusion is a real hot button topic right now, and we're very excited to hear about parents, both kids diagnosed with special needs and learning disabilities, and parents who aren't, and really open up the communication. And if anyone, my name is Mary Rakowski, if anyone wants to ask me, I can get you the contact information. Right now, our parent liaison, Craig, is going to do some personal stuff, so the communication's a little difficult, but if you would join CPAC, you'll get class of when the meetings are, and the meetings are open to everyone. We'd love to have you.
Thank you. Did everyone hear that? Meeting invite Friday mornings.
Friday mornings, Town Hall.
Town Hall.
And they can come to me after the meeting, and I can take names and then pass them to persons.
Check out the lady with the great pink glasses. For more information about those meetings. Thank you. And then the question was about how do you know who your child's dean is? Why? Because you got 12 emails from all of us? That's a little confusing, I'm sure. So you can access that information through Aspen on the portal. It should be able to very clearly in the details state by last name who your child's dean is. And if you still have a question or you can't seem to find it, you can email Sabrina McIntosh. Not unless I have a computer in front of me. So many. Yes.
So less of a question, more of a hopeful request. So the calendar feed for the school is really great. I've downloaded it now. I know some of the events that are happening, but clearly there are lots of events that are not on that calendar. That's some of which is discussed here. The clubs on the X block, the meeting on the 27th. There's another one, the one that Abby just mentioned. Those are not on the calendar. And so they kind of need them. I think it certainly helps me, and potentially will help if they're added to the calendar, or it's sort of a little bit secondary calendar feeds provided that you can just add those, and then everybody can see them. I tend to forget them.
Fantastic. And so you're saying this is as a comment, right? That there are all of these calendars that you have access to via the website, and that there are all of these secondary feeds that contain additional information that may not pop up on that main calendar, but if you sign up to get those feeds and have them dropped into your calendar all in one place, that's where you can get the most access. Did I get it?
Yes, that would be great.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Yes?
So how do we go about signing up our kids for the PSAT if they want to take a practice run this year?
So you want to connect with your student's guidance counselor, and that's the best way to get that process going.
Is there a timeline when those are due?
Ask guidance, I'm not sure, but I say now. No, I don't know. Yes.
Do you guys have any insight on free periods?
Insight on free blocks, you mean?
Just having free blocks and how my daughter says it's fine to have one and how I should be actually feeling about that.
Sure. Yes, with the caveat that I don't know if I've met your daughter yet. No. So here's the deal. Free blocks are totally okay, especially if your student can use that time to get some work done during the school day. If they participate in after-school athletics or shows or concerts, etc., it's a really useful tool because it's a great way to kind of keep up and do some work management without going long hours into the night after coming home from a pretty late practice as it is. If you have concerns about, that's not quite my student's jam and they're like home and they have nothing to do and they have a free block, I would strongly encourage you to maybe get them to think about what other credits could they actually kind of tick off of their list and what sort of classes could they maybe take a try in. There are so many opportunities to do things that maybe a student might feel like, oh, I've never thought about taking a dance class, or I would love to get into culinary. That's the wrong one. You'll never get into culinary. That's like a Howard class to get into. But that there are so many opportunities to kind of try something new that I would encourage if your student finds that time in the day isn't really being well used, or they're getting everything done during that time of the day and they have all this free time at home, that maybe there's an opportunity for them to kind of do a little bit more. And after this 2-week period, if they find like, ooh, I'm ready for a change and I could use that time differently, see their guidance counselor.
I just want to add that you really should know your child in terms of whether or not that free block is helpful for them, or if that free block is really a hindrance. So for some of our students that I'm particularly working hard with right now on ends that they received last year for attendance, they didn't utilize that free block very well. And for some of them, they didn't utilize their other blocks very well either. So they're coming to appeal for end removal, appealing around grades and things that didn't work out well for them as a 9th grader. If your child, the grades are slipping and you see that the grades are slipping, they may or may not be utilizing that time well. You really want to find out what they're doing with that time, whether they're studying, and you as a parent can say, I would like to have my child in some sort of a supervised study or have them have an elective, because they're not structuring that hour that they have of free time. They're spending their free time with people I don't want them to spend their free time with, or they're doing things that I don't want them to do, or I don't know what they're doing, but things just don't seem to be right. So you've got to know your child and whether or not that free block is helpful or harmful, because the free block, which a lot of students have, it can be helpful, it can be harmful. As a high school student, when I was in high school, when I had a free block, that was my opportunity to leave and never come back. So you have to know your child. Any other final questions?
Is there after school help? I know there's morning blocks, but
Some of them meet after school as well. So the Writing Center, the World Language Support Center, Social Studies, those were after school. Library always has research help and support after school as well. So I think it's math and science that are particularly in the morning, but there are other supports as well.
the lab help is in the morning too.
I think that was those teachers' specific office hours, but I'm sure that a student could approach the Latin teacher and set up a specific time when they were available, mutually agreed on.
So if there's no further questions, there's one more.
So how does MCAS and finals work? Do they do MCAS and then they take finals a week later? So they'll do like 2 exams?
Oh, yeah.
So in ninth grade, your student took a ninth grade final exam for physics in preparation for MCAS, which happened a week later. Sophomore year will be quite different because sophomore year they have the English MCAS that takes place over 2 days in March, 2 or 3 days, 3 days, but it's electronic this year. I feel like it went down to 2. It may have gone down to 2 this year for the first time because we're going to all computers this year for the first time for MCAS. There'll be some testing in March for the English language arts, and then there's 2 days of testing in May for math. And so they are totally unrelated to final exams and not tied to final exams this year. So 10th graders will take final exams in June during the regular final exam period for the rest of the school.
Okay, so a follow-up question. So I thought this was a last year issue, but over 10 syllabi now, from freshman to sophomore year, there's no mention of mid-years or finals. There's no mention of what counts in terms of the grade. Is that just 10 teachers? I mean, they make a big deal of mid-years when they come around, but you can't see any mention about...
In the course expectations, typically, I don't know, and certainly in my classes and in most of the world language classes that I've ever seen, we have a breakdown of how much percentage homework is worth, how much percentage class participation is worth, how much percentage assessments, tests, quizzes, projects, and then what percentage of second and fourth quarter are mid-year exams. So that's usually written into class expectations, so you could ask, your child probably has seen class expectations this week and gone over that with their teachers, so this might be a good time to check in on that. It's also always communicated to the student right before the exams. Remember, this is 10% of your second quarter grade, or it's 15%, something like that. But typically it's written into course expectations.
I've seen 10 syllabi and it hasn't been.
You haven't. The syllabi typically is different than the course expectations. So the syllabi may give...
That's what I find fascinating, is you push, this is mini college, right? And that you don't have a syllabi that would pass in any college course.
Yeah, the syllabi sort of function differently here at the high school than I would say they do at universities, that's for sure. And the course expectations typically break down grade, grade breakdown, and then Canvas is used more for individual assignments and setting up units of study with specific assignments.
Sorry, one last question. So one syllabi, the teacher says you have 4 bathroom passes for the semester, and that's it. So if you run out, that's your problem. So is there a new policy? There's a new tardy policy. Was there a new policy in terms of trying to limit students getting out of the classroom?
No, not typically. It's usually sort of based on the teacher's own individual classroom policy. And so if the student has a medical issue or an individual case, they can certainly work with that teacher. If it's something that they need to work with us as the dean on, we're happy to work with the student and the teacher as well. But typically bathroom policies are set by individual teachers and it will differ from classroom to classroom. So if a student is abusing that privilege, then there may be limits on that usage. Other questions? We're going to make it available on the PTO website so that you'll be able to see the dates and things more easily.
Just real quick, I haven't received, I know sometimes as well as MCAS course from last year.
don't believe they're out yet for the state. I haven't received them for my own children either, so I'm still waiting.
So we want to say a warm and hearty thank you to everyone for coming out. And we hope to see you at all of the next ones. And again, really feel free to give us a call and reach out if there's anything in which we can help you navigate. We may not have the answers, we might have to go to other folks, but we are certainly here to help you navigate this huge system that is Brookline High School. Have a fantastic night.